Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Framing the Force here on the Aspect Network. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Batts, and joining me every week to discuss a galaxy far, far away is Robby Weidemann. Robby, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great today. It's a wonderful day to be a Sith. So I'm excited for what we've got to talk about because this week we're going to be discussing anything and everything from the first season of Star Wars' newest series, The Acolyte. We've refrained from talking about it um, on our show so far, but we're going to kick off the episode by talking about our overall thoughts on the series. So, Alex, let's kick it off with you. What did you think of season one?
I thought it was fine. So there were parts that I enjoyed. There's a lot that I didn't really like a whole lot. I think that my biggest, like, if I could do a one sentence summary almost, would be that I really, really like 90% of the series in concept and significantly less so in execution. I think that it narratively was doing some really interesting things and going through some really interesting angles and exploring both characters and ideas in Star Wars in a way that we hadn't seen, which was exciting. I just don't think that it always necessarily landed that well. I think one of the major things for me was that the pacing felt really weird. I think that this would have been a really, really amazing movie length thing. I think that some of the stuff in the middle, or just the way that some of the episodes were, you can kind of like condense some things, and it would have maybe flowed a little bit better in that way. I think that a handful of the like Star Wars series have kind of suffered from this a little bit, and so like I think that made parts of it not as great for me, but I still think that it was going for some really cool things. I think all of the actors were incredible. They did a great job. I think a lot of the performances across the board were really, really good. Um, I liked seeing the Jedi in a way that we really haven't seen them before. And at the same token, seeing more of the Sith explored and like just having it set in the High Republic also is really exciting. Like I love this setting and this era, and it's nice to see a different era of Star Wars being explored because we haven't really gotten that much of that. And so it's nice to get into this time period and do that. Um, the action for the most part I thought was really fun and really cool. But yeah, like overall, it was really really great. I think for me in concept, but then just some of the finer points kind of left me wanting a little bit. But yeah, what did you think? What were your initial thoughts of season one?
I I like it. Definitely a fan, but I will definitely also be the first to tell you I think it was like a hot mess.
Hmm.
Um, I thought it was I like you kind of summarized it really well. I thought it was really some excellent concepts and really the fresh ideas that they were exploring and the the stories they had came up with, like the paths taken and whatnot. But it just you got to give a show like that room to breathe.
Hmm.
The pacing was all over the place. Um, some things needed more time to develop. Some things had too much time to develop.
Yeah.
Um, I, like I think they just I think the show would have benefited from like two more episodes, or even whether if two more episodes at the runtime they'd been going at, maybe three, or just give them all regular like
Hour long.
45-minute, hour-long
Yeah.
episodes. Like, like just give them regular runtime, like traditional TV runtimes. Either one of those solutions, and even maybe an episode on top of that, but even like either one of those, I think would have done astronomically just like better from just executing what they were trying to execute.
Hmm.
I like I said, I really like the show. I just the like I when I watch a Star Wars anything, first time I'm watching it for the story. What I'm like just I'm not worried about the lore. Like, yes, I'm very deep into the lore. I know all like I'm not worried about being left behind in most things or whatever. But I'm just going in for the story. It's Star Wars. I want to see what this new little adventure is.
Yeah.
Second time I go back and watch it is when I really sit down and I've seen it once. No judgment, no expectations, just watching it for to see what I get. Second time I go through and watch it is when I really start to actually like critically and heavily think about it and break it down for production standpoints and just overall just how it fits into the whole entire Star Wars just the franchise with what it was at before that new project came in. So I have to go sit through it a second time to really have my a really firm opinion on it.
Mhm.
But in terms of the actual just story, I liked it. I liked the concept. I liked the just the dynamics they use, and it felt fresh. I love the fact that we're not in the Skywalker timeline anymore.
Yeah.
There are full millennia in both directions to go.
Please
Please
just
start
go there.
exploring
Yeah.
them, and they're taking their baby steps over, and I'm very happy about that. So overall, it was a positive experience for me, and I am very excited for and hoping we do get a season two. But I do think they could have executed on some things a little better.
Yeah, I think you brought up the runtimes of the episodes. I think it's such a weird continued decision that they're doing the like premium show shorter seasons. Like this is an 8 episode season, but then they're still like half-hour episodes. And I feel like that's not the way to do that most of the time. A lot of the episodes feel like they just end abruptly and there's not really a resolution. It's just
Hmm.
like ending to end it. So we'll tune in next week, and that's not the best for flow. And then I do agree that a little bit more like the story feels like it really not starts, but kind of does start a little bit like with the finale. And so I feel like that would have been a good like mid-season point almost, like if you can
Right.
find a way like, and if you do hour-long episodes, it basically is that,
If
right?
you do hour-long episodes, you could have condensed those 8 into, like, 5 and then crank out another 5 for a second half of a season if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
Which, like, I understand then that you're also talking about, like, the production costs of that, which is
Right.
then, doubling, which I know they're already I don't know exactly how much this was, but I'm sure it was,
It was a lot.
yeah, pretty hefty, which is another thing where it's for me, the show lands in the weird realm of looking not as expensive as I know it is. And I don't really
Mhm.
know how to like pinpoint exactly what makes it feel like that sort of, but like it just feels different than how a
It
lot of,
doesn't feel like with the budget it has, it doesn't feel like a film production. It feels like a not I don't wanna say budget because it's not the right word for it, but,
yeah.
like, but in the Star Wars world,
It just doesn't well, like, and it's
it
so
feels like a
unfair
budget Star Wars film,
thing. Yeah,
like a TV, like a production. Like if it was a f- if it has that money going to it, it should look like one of the films.
yeah. It's an unfair comparison to make be like, "Oh, well, it doesn't look like the movies." And it's like, "Well, yeah, it's not a
Right?
movie."
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
not
yeah, like
supposed to.
it's
It's like
a series.
I can't think of the words to describe what I'm trying to say in regards to
But
how it
I just
looks.
look at it and I'm like, "Yeah, but it looks different," It
Yeah,
doesn't
it just
it's
something
not
seems a little just
yeah,
off. I don't know. I don't
and
know
it's
how to
not
describe it any better. I
yeah,
really
and I
don't. And
can't
it's not a fair comparison at all, but it's the best thing I can come up with.
yeah, and it's something that I think it's just because there's such an attachment and expectation with the way that Star Wars, like, has always looked,
It's the
where you're like
highest of standards.
yeah, where you're like, "Oh, well, this doesn't look like the other like, this is not Star Wars as I normally see it." But, yeah, I don't know, like, exactly I can't pinpoint or point to one thing where I'm like, "Oh, it's because of this specifically." And I
Mhm.
think that this show was better than some of the other series
Oh, I
that we've
agree,
gotten,
and
in, like,
even
that
just
kind of
with just
realm.
the color palette.
Yeah, like, like, was a lot closer, but still, I'm like, "Ah, you're not quite there. You're still" like,
Yeah,
it's still
you're like a half step back. I don't
like,
know
this
what
is
that
still
half step is,
Star
but
Wars on TV, and which, like,
I
yeah,
don't know if it's the
it literally
volume. I don't even think the volume was
no,
used or
they
was
didn't use the volume
yeah,
on this,
I don't know what it was.
but, yeah, it just bothers me a little bit, but, um, yeah, I think overall, though, it was really enjoyable. I liked seeing I will also say that it definitely while the story was interesting, it's very much not what it was pitched as, like, in reality. Like, this was very much pitched as a show that was, like, focused on the Sith and about the murder, like, the investigation into the murder of these Jedi, and that's, like, not really what the show is. Like, the show is
Like
that kind of, but we know the murder immediately, and also,
and that's the thing,
I
like,
it's
what
not
they
really
pitched it as
yeah.
is I think what season 2 is gonna be. Like what you said earlier, like we ended season 1 on, like, a mid-season finale point.
Yeah.
And I think with that other half of the story, we probably do get a lot closer to the pitch. But
Mhm.
you're very right, like with that,
Yeah,
like
it's because they were like, "Yeah, it'll be following a Sith, and it'll be about the murder investigation," and, like, the murder investigation is part of the story, but it's not really about who did it, we know that, which is fine, you don't always have to frame that type of investigation and
right.
as a who did it, you can still have intrigue and stuff there, but then it also really, to me, wasn't a season about the Sith either, like, it was definitely about the Jedi, which is not
Mhm.
an inherently bad thing, I think that that's equally interesting, and I liked seeing the way that they were explored here, but definitely not how it was
Not the Sith heavy we were kind of
ex
expecting.
yeah, which I don't know exactly how to feel about that because, I mean, I'm a fan of both, and I liked seeing, again, the way that they kind of tackle the Jedi in new lights and get into a lot of their hubris, and then also showing them from the perspective, like, from different perspectives in the galaxy, and especially during this time period, like, seeing how the Jedi operated here and all of that, like that's all super interesting and I think very fertile ground to explore narratively. And I'm glad to see them doing that and going there. But at the same time, you told me this was a Sith show. And like it'd be cool to see a little bit more of the Sith. I'm like that was always not always, but pretty consistently the most interesting part of the show also. Like the Jedi stuff was great, but like
I saw red lightsabers in 2, 3 episodes if you wanna count the end of,
oh,
episode 4,
which
but I saw
that
red lightsabers in, like, 2 episodes, so,
like
like
that the ending of that episode or not even. Well, no, it had to be before episode 4, I think. The first, like, stinger at the end of, I think,
oh,
episode
we
1 or
see
2.
him standing on a mountain opening
Yeah,
it.
and, like, ignite the saber, and then he doesn't show up for, like, 2 more episodes unless you count
Yeah.
him, in disguise and stuff, but, like, I was so mad about that. I was like, "This 30 seconds was literally put onto the end of the episode just to, like, have a 30-second stinger at the end of the episode."
Mhm.
It's like, "Come on."
And yeah, it's just a bunch of, like they crank out a half-hour episode just to leave you with with a cliffhanger
Mhm.
to come back next week, but, like, I don't
I'm
know, I feel
I'm gonna
like
come back next
you don't
week.
have to I don't think you have to get a Star Wars fan on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's kinda I understand it's a mystery thing, and there's not it's not to say you can't not have a cliffhanger. It's
Yeah.
just that the way they almost tried to intentionally get something in on you at the end
Mhm.
of each episode, it was almost a little unnecessary,
Yeah, it
but
just was one of those other things that led into it feeling like it had a sort of weird structure and the pacing just sort of like off like that. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to really like though. Like the Knights of Ren speculate Cortus was sick. Seeing Cortus in live action was awesome. Like
mhm.
being able to actually, get into that. But yeah, those are some pretty thorough, I guess, but general thoughts on the show. But we're going to be taking a quick break. And whenever we come back, we're going to discuss the finale for season 1 of The Acolyte. So, yeah, we'll talk about that after the break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Framing the Force. Before the break, we discussed our overall thoughts on season 1 of The Acolyte. Now, we want to dive into the season finale that aired earlier this week. Robbie, how did you feel about the finale and did it help the season for you?
Um, I think it pretty much stuck the landing. I mean, I was happy with what we got. It definitely helped wrap up the season pretty well. It answered a majority of the questions, left you enough for a season 2. But I was happy with what we got. I would have made a couple changes and some story points, but overall, I'm satisfied. I enjoyed it a lot. My favorite episode was still episode 5, though. But I definitely
Yeah,
this is probably number 2 for me.
I would have to agree with that. I think that it felt like kind of weird for the pacing in at the beginning of the episode. I think that the like space sequence between May, whenever May is escaping from Seoul, like that
Hmm.
all was phenomenal. ILM does not
Hmm.
miss. So like that was really cool, and I do like how narrowed it became with like really focusing in on Seoul and Osha and May and Kamir, and really like bringing them all back together. And I thought that also the set of the destroyed, I don't know, did their
The
lodging have a
mining
name?
facility, I
Yeah,
think
like,
it was like
what
a mining facility,
okay. Yeah,
like
like,
the witch cove in
yeah.
Hunt.
I think that it looked better as a set destroyed. I was like, "Oh, this is how it was, like, meant to be." Like, they
Yeah, no, it
definitely
looked
did.
real. I really did enjoy the remnants of that, the structure.
Yeah, so I thought that that was really cool and looked great, and bringing them all back there, was, I think, a really smart
Cool way to
decision. Yeah,
yeah.
and, like, was just nice to, like, see, and again, it just, like, focus in on those characters and really, like, spend the time with them. I do still feel like May's character, this was a problem that I had, like, throughout the season, like, her character like, just moves, like, emotionally, like, back and forth and, like, through things, like,
Mhm.
super, super quickly, and I'm like, "I'm not," like, "You're not really given the time to, like."
And I mean, even OSHA, I feel like that's the thing, we missed so much like, if we had 10 more minutes per episode, that development we coulda had, like, you're saying with May and just all of her decisions, which is absolutely like, I agree.
It was like, "I
But
need to
what
make this decision now so that the thing in the story can happen based on me making this
right.
decision now," like.
What what bothered me just slightly more than May was, and I don't mind them together, the OSHA Kamir thing, I don't mind them together, but
Mhm.
that was just like snap of a finger, like, "Hey, we're cool now."
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's I think we spent I see, I feel like hers was a little bit better for me because I felt like we spent more time with her, like, on the journey to
Right,
dark side,
she had
and
definitely more screen time.
yeah, and more she had more screen time that wasn't her flipping between what she's going to do next.
Right.
Like, she's really, like,
You
she's
actually get
pretty.
to spend time with her and see how she's kind of developed with these lies or what end up being lies, and
Yeah,
you kinda get a sense of who she is as a character,
and she has
at
a
least
more consistent goal. Like, we see her with more, she's not, like, constantly changing what exactly
right.
she's going to be doing, and settling on something, which is nice. But yeah, I like both of them. I felt like are a little bit rushed at different parts and
Mhm.
could have been developed a bit more. I liked where they were ending things in the finale, like with the three of them, and I thought that they maybe the three of them were. I don't understand exactly why
I
May had to be left.
really wish they just killed her.
Yeah, the
Like, that
mind
would've
wipe
just
thing is
made sense from
weird.
a Sith perspective.
Yeah,
Like, just get rid of her because I don't know, the mind wipe thing, it it's not necessary, like, Kamir even said, like, "I could try." So,
yeah.
like, it's not a guarantee or anything,
It also
and
just
it's
feels
just a
the most.
Jedi loose end, and now who's hanging out with the Jedi? Just
Yeah,
kill her.
that, and I also feel like it's the most, like, uh, abusive option, honestly. Like, it's very, like, even though she obviously is like, "Yeah, like, do this," and was aware of it, it feels not good to do that to someone, which, I mean, I know
Mhm.
it's the Sith doing it, so they're the bad guys, and that's fine, but they're also still leaving her alive out of and, like, it's her sister, so it's just this weird thing where, like, I don't know, it didn't completely land for me
But also
that.
what really didn't like click with me is you're gonna wipe her mind
Mhm.
and then separate from her.
Yeah.
But on their last hug, as the mind is being wiped, or right after the mind, whenever they're hugging,
Mhm.
she says, "I will find you." So why are you getting rid of her in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah, I also did, yeah, that line was weird too. It's like, okay, well then.
It's like just it's like if you don't want to kill her, like that's what makes me go for the more of the kill route. Like you either do the one extreme or just keep her. Why are you leaving it in a gray area with potential loose ends?
Yeah. I don't really get that. It's
And
like,
also, it would have been
I
it would
understand her not being dead for the show's sake, but
right,
yeah.
but also it's that's the thing. You still have Amanda. Like you could just focus on one character with her instead of two.
Mhm.
I mean, she's still there. She's still gonna show up. She's got a whole other character to play.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wasn't really huge on. I would like either just stick around or like permanent bye bye. I don't know. That's the Sith in me speaking, but I think that's if she was gonna go full dark side, like you gotta get an extra kill in when you can.
Yeah. I just feel like it didn't make the most sense just overall from, like, multiple
I
angles.
mean,
I'm like, I
if
don't.
I want to play like devil's advocate, I guess like I could see the compassion, like
Yeah, but then,
loving,
like, mind wiping
but
someone's not a compassionate thing to do if you
yeah,
ask
exactly.
me.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I feel
okay,
like
so it's like I don't know.
that's not
I
a good
guess
option.
it's maybe just to keep OSHA going, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know. I
I
did
wasn't
like.
really thrilled with that conclusion.
Yeah, May is weird just overall with her, like,
Hmm.
her character and the way that she was the whole time, and then where she's ended up in the finale. I did like Osha's fall to the dark side generally. I thought that was done well. That was
I was a fan of that. It
yeah, I
was
thought
very it had like a reason, like
yeah,
it was understandable. Just the execution, they acted like I liked it.
yeah,
I was a big fan of that. Nothing better than seeing someone fall on the dark side.
yeah. That was great. They absolutely crushed that. And then also we got to see Kyber Crystal being bled for the first time in live action,
Hell yeah, we did.
which was pretty
That was
sick.
great.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really cool. They actually showed that,
And
and
I
I was
like
like, oh
that you could see Soul's
man,
crystal, like,
yeah,
before they really show you the blade and everything. It
hmm
was cool. I really enjoyed it because I was always more of a fan of the bleeding than the artificial stuff. I don't know. The artificial stuff was always kinda weird to me. So
yeah,
I was glad that they did make, like, a little change there with the bleeding, and I'm really happy with how it was executed, like,
yeah.
on screen.
Oh, it looks awesome. It's such a cool
Yeah.
effect, and yeah, just seeing the it also just ties in so well with what like it's such a great visual representation of what's happening with her character. Like not only does it look
Mhm.
awesome and like look super cool, like there's a reason that it's tied in there completely.
Has that
Like
little bit of a stutter and everything, like, when it goes over.
yeah,
It takes its time, but it's not really slow. Like it definitely gets to red pretty quick, but
yeah,
there's a little bit of a hesitation. No, it definitely mirrored OSHA very well.
yeah. And it's just cool to see. Like I'm a sucker
Oh yeah,
for
it
anything
was
Kyber Crystal and like
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It was just it was gorgeous.
yeah. So that was nice. Like
Can we
that. I
talk
thought
about my boy?
yeah, that was yeah, we could talk about Plagueis. Plagueis actually showed up, which is insane. I'll let you take the
Yeah.
lead on this because you know a lot more about him than I do, actually.
So going
Were you expecting to see him in this? Like, how confident were you we were gonna see him?
so I wanted to see him. I found out the time frame, and bear with me for on and off throughout watching this series. I don't know why, but I would always think it was 150 years
Isn't
back.
it 150?
It's 100. Like I would
Wha
alternate
I
back and forth, but
swear to
it,
God they said
that's what
150 at
I'm
one point.
saying. I thought it
There's
was
no way.
150. So it's 100. So I thought it was
Okay.
150 for the longest time. So I kind of ruled him out in the sense that like, it's a little far back,
Yeah.
but I was always 110% ready for Tenebris or
Mhm.
Tenebris, his
Yeah.
master.
Mhm.
Um, but I didn't rule out Plagueis, and I'm happy we got him. Like
Yeah.
once I realized we're only 100 years back, I'm like, okay, I'm cool with Plagueis. Like that's cool. No, he's gonna be a mess next season if we get it. I hope.
I mean, I feel like there's one no way that we're not gonna get a season 2. And because that's part of the thing, and this is, like, sort of part of my complaint. So much of it feels like it's very much like setting up the story to really get into the meat of the story next season.
Hmm.
Like, not that this season wasn't good, but so many things I'm like, oh, well, that'll be extra cool in season 2. Um,
Right.
but yeah, Plagueis is super. I mean, I got hyped whenever I saw him. I was like, oh, they actually like showed him. That's
I
awesome.
actually jumped out of like I was standing. Like
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
yeah. So that was really cool. So he's still alive during the events of the Phantom Menace, correct?
Yeah, so he's still alive up until and it's I believe it is when Palpatine wins the chancellorship.
Okay.
But it also could be he also might die the night that Palpatine is nominated. I don't remember if it was the night that he wins or the night that he's nominated. I
Okay.
believe it's the night that he wins.
But still even through
Um,
like into the Phantom
so
Menace.
he's up. He's pretty much by the time he's dead in the Phantom Menace. I would say it's after Duel of the Fates, like Palpatine arriving on Naboo. Like probably a little bit before then. He's pretty much kicking in the Phantom Menace.
That's wild.
But yeah,
How
it's
old what do you know what species he is? How old is
he's
the
he's a moon. He's a Sand. I think it's Sandhill, the guy in Attack of the Clones, the once Confederate guy with a big head.
Oh, yeah.
That species.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah, they have a pretty long lifespan. A couple times in the Plagueis book, like he mentions to Palpatine like he's much older than 100 years or whatever. Like
That's
he's
pretty cool.
yeah, he I believe he also mentions at some point that the length of his training under Tenebris was like a lifespan of a normal person. Like he trained a long time.
Love that.
So he I don't remember his age, and I don't know if it's ever. I don't think he has a set birthday because I think in the book it's one thing, and then there's another story about Tenebris that it
A different
contradicts
thing.
it.
Yeah.
So there's not really a set birthday. They can live really long,
Mhm.
um, and just knowing his specific interests in the dark side, he obviously tries to mess with it and extend it even more.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he kicks around for a while.
That's really cool. It's so interesting and exciting to see him, like, brought into live action and, like, because he's such a
We've
big
been
he's
waiting what 19 years for this.
yeah, like, because he's such an important figure. Um, I'm very excited to see more of him. We only got, like, 2 seconds. It was, like, 3 seconds. We got his hand and then
Oh,
him.
it was a beautiful 3 seconds and enough to get me out of my seat. Let me tell you that much.
Yeah. It was cool, though. I did like seeing that. I how what in what capacity do you think that he's there? Do you think he's
Oh,
uh
I think I so
'cause there's a lot of questions about that because it's not
I
there's no dialogue
think
or
they
anything whenever
try and make it decently obvious almost.
Mhm.
Um and it seems like Leslie's really pulling from his book. So
Okay.
I think the unknown planet they're on is Baldemnik.
Mhm.
That's where the book starts. He hangs out there with Tenebris because there is a cortosis mine.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's why he is there. But in the book, they also mention, or he mentions, I don't know if he mentions it um, specifically to Palpatine. I think he does, but it just mentioned it in
One
just
of the
in a
passages.
statement or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, that he is well aware that there are other dark side users, that there are wannabe Sith, that there are he addresses them as pretenders,
Mhm.
but he knows that he himself is part of the true Bane lineage, the Rule of Two lineage.
Yeah.
So in his eyes, if it ain't him or Tenebris or I guess Palpatine or whoever he may apprentice um, in passing, you're not a Sith. So I think I don't know if it's coincidence that they're both there, maybe because of the cortosis, but I think he is, and they operate. He operates in the shadows stealthily, like he was very much doing what he would be doing at this time. Um, so I think him lurking in the caves is not some kind of like it's he found his prey. Like he found something that's an issue because also just the way he sneaks out of the cave, that's a very much like if I'm gonna show Plagueis as Kamir's master, he's gonna be like I think he's just not gonna be creeping around a corner of a cave like that.
That's a
He's
good
gonna be
point.
like kind of standing in the background in the shadows. And I think Leslie did say in an interview that I saw something from an article today
Mhm.
that she is setting up Kamir and Osha. Like she's like in the sense that like, oh, you like them or whatever, like whatever, like you want to see how their story goes and how they look so confident looking at the sunset that like they can take on the world together. But she knows that that's not going to happen. They're going to fail because we know that it becomes at the end of the day Plagueis and Palpatine.
Yeah,
So I really do not think. I think Kamir is way closer to the Wrens than the Sith.
that makes sense. Yeah,
So,
that was gonna be my next question was whether or not you thought, uh,
oh, I'll subscribe to Kamir as the inspiration for the
for the
Knights of
Knights of
Ren.
Ren. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll subscribe to that.
I think that detracts a lot, just in his actions, the way that he presents himself, even his, like, ideology and things, and then, of course, the Kylo Ren music cue at the end of
Hmm.
was it episode 5?
Uh, I think it was episode 5, but yeah, that was no mistake. That was definitely an intentional music
Yeah,
little motif.
so I think that that definitely makes sense and tracks. I'm very interested in all of that. I'm a huge Kylo Ren fan, so that's all stuff that I think is really cool. And I do okay. Also, though, while we're talking about Kamir, some one of the best designs for a villain in Star Wars. Like
Oh, absolutely.
so,
That helmet is top 5 easy.
that helmet is great.
I could argue top 3.
The whole look. I love the way that his cloak is that would that be or poncho? No, it'd be a cloak. It has a does it have a
I think
hood?
it would be a I don't
I don't think so because I mean he has the helmet the whole time, so like it doesn't go up. Either way, his wardrobe, the outer part, the cape, cloak, poncho is awesome, and then
the
also
drip.
yeah, and then also whenever he loses that and just has the sleeveless top, like,
Mhm.
it looks so good. It's a great look.
Yeah, now that I think I was thinking about the sleeveless top. Yes, I think that is a poncho, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's I feel like that's what it
Star
is.
Wars is known for ponchos. We'll call it a poncho, I don't know.
Yeah, that looks great though. I mean, he's just got such a cool design and really looks good in combat also, which is really
Oh,
nice.
yeah, the way he moves is,
He
I'm glad they upped the choreography.
yeah.
And and it definitely needs to be. I mean, these are the Jedi in their prime, so
Mhm.
it's not like post prequel time anymore, like which is mostly pretty much all of what Disney's more or less
Shown.
done up until this point.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they really upped the choreography game because the Kamir really like Manny just does a phenomenal job. It's just excellent.
Yeah, I think that his choreography was stellar, like, both in episode 5. 1, you can see that it's him actually, like, having to exert focus and skill and energy into it,
Hmm.
and then also how that's then upped in the finale with Soul. I love the pacing of that fight was so good, and the back and forth and
Right.
kind of Camille constantly having to, "Okay, now I'll try this. That didn't work.
Adjust.
Okay, now
Yeah.
I'll try this. That doesn't work." And just the back
I
and
thought it
forth.
was I thought it was a really great fight, and like I really liked the length. I didn't think it was too short.
Yeah.
My one, and this is a nitpick, like little gripe with it. I just wish he headbutted a lightsaber once. Just
Yeah,
one
he
more
tried,
headbutt. He had a
but
couple
then Soul did
opportunities.
no, but then Soul did the one, thing that they were talking about Kamir being dirty
Hmm.
for, where he turned off his saber for a second to
Yeah,
prevent it, which was so smart. Also, the shot,
yeah. No,
like,
it was.
right before whenever the sparks are just getting so like, flying onto the helmet. Oh, so good. Looked
No,
great.
yeah. That's just me being. That's just me. That's my favorite Khmer move is just
The
smack your
headbutt.
head into a lightsaber and
Yeah,
just
it's so good.
go to work.
So I have a weird I don't know, I was trying to think about how to articulate this earlier. It's sort of a complaint, but the way so I like the way that they incorporated the Force into the fights more in this, because I think that's something that's really cool that's not done a whole lot or, like,
Hmm.
used very creatively, I guess, in a lot of live action stuff.
You see it like throughout the prequels a little bit, but other than that, it's not a very like heavy focus on in saber fights.
Yeah, and even when you see it then, it's more of, like, either moving objects or, like, a Force push as
Hmm.
opposed to,
I mean,
like
you get a little bit of lightning here and there, but
well,
it's
yeah,
like you're not clashing mid like at the same time.
yeah. but I like the idea of using the Force more for, like, augmentation on your normal movements and, like, jumps and
Mhm.
and things like that, and so I like seeing that, I like that they're doing that a lot more, but I also feel like and I don't know if this was a moment that I see, and this is a part of the reason that I, like it bothered me is that I've watched it back a couple times now because I was making gifs from it earlier, and I don't know if the moment when they jump off the ledge, Sol and Kamir, like, whenever they leap from
It's force speed.
I don't know whether or not that's a slow-mo moment or
I
not. I d like,
I
I
like
cannot tell. I legitimately don't know, and so it's like, whether or not that's slow-mo, but then also just in general, whenever
I
any
don't
of
like seeing
them
slow-mo in the fights.
like, I like slow-mo, but I just couldn't tell, but it's also partly because anytime any of them are moving wholly because of the force, they immediately feel as though they're weightless. They feel like there's no gravity operating them like with them at
Mhm.
all, and I don't like that feeling.
It feels strange, yeah.
Like I know, like obviously they're on
I
wires,
understand, like, yeah,
and
yeah.
like I know that, but I don't want to have it look and feel like they're on wires and they're instantly weightless. Like
Mhm.
I do you have you watched Invincible,
In, like, the
the animated show?
animated show? Yeah, I've watched the first season and a half. I have to watch the second
Okay.
half of
So the
the latest
part
season.
this is a weird comparison, but it's what I thought of earlier. Whenever Omni-Man is talking about how the Viltrumites, like they can, whenever they push, they can like force their gravity to be more behind them in their punch or
Mhm.
whatever. I want that kind of weight behind force movements where it's not like that they go weightless instantly. It's that they're using the force as an extra
Kinda
push or
directioning it
pull.
somewhere
Yeah.
else
And like, and doing that.
or
And so
focusing it.
it's not that they're, like, in a zero G environment automatically because
Yeah.
they're able to, like,
They
use the
start
force to
floating all of a sudden.
yeah, to float, like, I still want to feel that weight on there, and, like, a lot of the time it was like, "Oh, now they're
That's
being"
valid, yeah.
like, now he's being pulled by a wire because he's getting, like, pushed back, which is, like, fine, I understand. Um, but yeah.
No, I don't like seeing the slow motion in lightsaber fights, and I don't mind slow mo I like slow motion in fights. I think slow motion's cool and just and anything in general. I mean, who doesn't like slow motion?
Right.
But I think what bothers me with lightsaber fights is I wanna see these things moving as fast as possible. Like, I wanna see, like, that Ewan McGregor, Darth Maul, like, Ray Park kinda
Yeah.
speed. I don't want it to be slowed down. I want him to just go absolutely crazy. But
Yeah, that's very true.
that's just me. I mean, seeing slow-mo is cool in general. I
I
don't
think
know.
there are
I don't know.
definitely
I'm also just not used to it in Star Wars, I think.
yeah, that's what I see, is that them falling off, is that in slow-mo? I like, I legitimately can't tell.
I
Uh,
don't know.
but,
I have to look at it again.
yeah, it's one of the I think the slow-mo is good used there's a time and a place for it though, is the
Mhm.
thing. But I did overall enjoy them incorporating more Force stuff into the
Oh, yeah,
fights and more,
absolutely.
like more of that and also more of general,
You
like,
just get to see
hand-to-hand
more force powers too.
choreography. Yeah, which is great. Um,
Like, give me all of them.
yeah,
Let me see
all of
them
the
all.
Force powers.
I don't care if it makes sense in the middle of what you're doing. I just want to see. Let me see what you can do.
Yeah, I think those were most of my thoughts on the finale.
You know, that's pretty much that's.
Do we hit do we hit
I think we
Plagueis?
hit
We hit the twins.
Plagueis.
How do we feel about the fact that Soul, ate it?
Soul got framed.
Yeah, that too, yeah. Which I'm sure we'll probably get into that a little bit more in season 2,
Yeah,
um,
but
stuff, but yeah, like, how do we feel about
I'm
how Soul
sad to
Arc
see
ended?
Soul go. But I also like. I was expecting it.
Mhm.
Um, it was really messed up that they framed him. But
Yeah.
I expect nothing less from the Jedi. Like
Yeah,
they are so arrogant and so in their own world. And this I would have told you this before this show came out and depicted them as such. But I
yeah,
like how the show depicted them. I think it stayed true to just especially that one scene in Attack of the Clones where um Mace, Obi-Wan, and Yoda are walking in the halls of the temple. They're
mhm,
they're worried about just the arrogance and Jedi becoming more and more prominent and and just them being flawed. And I'm glad we finally got to see it like actually like at a deeper level than just like the prequels and just turning a blind eye to the Sith in general. Like I'm just glad that we see it as like how it is in their core just ideologies, like how it affects them.
Yeah, I do think it is really interesting that they're actually exploring that in that way, and getting to see that I think is really cool. It's yeah, I mean, it's terrible to do.
Yeah.
They just they just set him
Did
up
him so dirty, so
yeah,
dirty.
like, um, it's not great, like, it's a bad look, and so that's unfortunate, but I think that it made sense for his arc. I think it's a
It
not
was a good way
necessarily
to wrap up, like, just,
the
to tie it
mystery
all
and the
up.
drama
Yeah.
of that, yeah, because
Mhm,
it's a lot of what went wrong was instigated by Soul's actions in the first place that, like, set all this in motion, and so I think it was a good conclusion for that there.
mhm.
Um, One thing I did remember that, happened that was pretty interesting was, with the finale and Kamir doing the mind wipe thing is that's one of the first things that he, like, says when
Yeah, he
greeted
mentions that early on. He's like,
yeah,
"Don't
and
do it."
yeah, "Don't do that Jedi mind wipe thing that you guys do," and so it's funny and interesting
I
that
like that it had a little that he was the guy who did it.
yeah, like, that's cool.
Little full
Um,
circle moment. And,
als
it was cool that we, like, got to see I liked how the episode picked up immediately where episode, was it 6 left off?
Mhm,
'Cause we end 6 on, OSHA with the helmet on,
yeah,
and that's what we come right into with 8. And, I like, something spoke to her there. I don't know what was going on.
yeah, that that part was really interesting because it's the same effect because we see Kamir and, like, his background
Go through what Torben went through.
yeah, and so and then her eyes are the full black also, and so I'm really curious what exactly went down there. I know there's a lot of questions still about the coven and how all like, we got more answers kind of about Osha and May and them being, like, one soul, essentially, and how but we also still really don't know, like, a ton of like, we know that, but it's like, "Okay, well, what is that exactly?" Like, what is
Yeah,
that?
where
What does that mean?
go on.
Yeah, and so there's still a lot of questions there and, about, like, their magic and the things like that, and so, yeah, I'm curious what was going on there whenever she was, freaking out with
Yeah, and
Automaton.
it's really interesting because she did not, like, go through the, ascension. I believe that's what it was. Yeah, the
Yes,
ascension.
and
She
May
didn't go
did.
through that. May did, but she was pulling out some witchcraft, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be I'm really interested to see where season 2 takes us. Like, I think, when we come back, let's begin well, we're gonna go over our speculation, for where the show is gonna go from here. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to Framing the Force. Before the break, we discussed the finale of The Acolyte Season 1, with so many narrative threads teased from Osha's turn to the dark side, to Vernestra's relationship with Kamir, to Darth Plagueis and Yoda having a little cameo in that final episode. There's a lot to pick up on in a second season. Alex, do you think it's getting greenlit? And if it does get greenlit, where is season 2 going to take us?
First off, yes, I absolutely think it's gonna get greenlit for season 2. I mentioned this, I think, very briefly earlier, where, like, I feel like it's pretty much all but confirmed that it'll get a season 2. I think it's been pretty widely, um, praised. Fans have enjoyed it. If you ignore the review bombing that's obnoxious, which I'm sure doesn't really impact it that much, like, yeah, it's been
I think they're
successful.
aware.
Yeah, like, it's been like, yeah, I think that the Lucasfilm Disney is very, uh they see what happens online, right? And so they're not going to let something like that impact it too much.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely think it gets greenlit for season 2. Also, before I move into one of my bigger points, the Yoda thing at the end was so funny to me. It was like it reminded me of that stinger at the end of the first or second episode of whatever, where it's just put at the end there for a second, and it's like it was just so funny that they to me and like that they ended the season with like, oh, by the way, here's Yoda, that other guy,
Yeah,
like, I
it was so random.
like it was
Like,
just so
especially when she said we're not seeing Yoda in this show.
yeah, and which is fine, like, I understand
I
keeping the
don't mind. I
creature and
love
stuff.
Yoda. Yoda's one of my top 5 characters. I don't
It
care,
just
but like,
is
it was just such a funny cameo to just not. I was not expecting to see my little green friend.
yeah, so, like, that was funny, but, Yeah, the other threads that you mentioned, the big one or one of the big ones I think that's interesting, I think was like to me reads pretty close to confirmation of a popular theory about Camille and Vernestra, and that is she obviously knows who he is. Like she very clearly
She
recognized him.
definitely whipped him.
Yeah, like,
Those
oh,
whips are
100%. Yeah,
definitely
so,
from
like,
her.
so the big theory is that it's her lightsaber whip that is what caused the scars on his back, and, like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel like it felt so as much as you can confirm it through implication
Without
as you
saying, "Hey, I
like
did that."
yeah, like, as you can get, and so I'm really interested to learn more about their relationship and, like, their history and have that explored further and see where that goes from here. Because it also is one of those things where, like, whatever happened between them is enough to make her be like, "Yeah," like, her immediate course of action with all of this is to pin it all on Soul and, like, cover it
Right,
up.
and
Like
also, like, when she gets on the planet, she senses him, she's like, "Uh-oh."
yeah.
Like
Like, it's a very big deal, and so,
yeah, so I really wanna see what went down with those 2.
yeah, like, I think that's gonna be very, very crucial. I think that'll be a very big part of next season,
Mhm.
and I'm definitely very interested in that and excited to see where that goes. Um, besides that, yeah, I think that the Khmer and OSHA stuff is going to be very interesting. I just I'm a fan of the dark side stuff too. Like, I think it's very compelling, and I think it'll be cool to see how like just more of Kamir in general is going to be awesome. I loved his
Mhm.
character a lot, and so to see that relationship and how that evolves and what like the way that he teaches her, I think is going to be very exciting to see, and I'm very much looking forward to. But yeah, what are your big things that you think are happening that we're gonna get to see in season 2, and what are you think looking forward to?
I think we're gonna get some, like, rule of 2 stuff. I mean, I'm
We're gonna
hoping
get some
for
like
it.
real hard can't like
Some,
this
like,
is how the rule of
actual,
2 is
like
in canon now,
like,
like, we're talking
we're
about
gonna
it.
see the grand plan. We're not gonna see the grand plan. We know what the grand plan is. We've seen Order 66. We've seen it all. But we're gonna see, like, maybe a mention of it, but, like, just kind of like the little behind the scenes details, the little small putting that plan into place, those little motions
Do you think
start to sprinkle into the story. I hope at least.
we get a Bane mention or reference in
Um,
season 2?
I wouldn't be shocked just because like these mentioned a handful of times in the book.
Yeah.
So I think Plagueis is strange because he kind of wants to end the rule of two. He takes the rule of two to kind of like a new era. I can't really say he wants to end it per se,
Mhm.
but he kind of like once he kills off Tenebris, he's like, I'm gonna go do my thing now. So he's a very interesting Sith Lord. He has his own agenda, but he's also got the Sith agenda. He's very compelling in the sense that like he is through and through a Sith. He is so damn selfish
Yeah.
that nothing else matters. So I really hope I know he's not going to be that per se that he could be the main antagonist, like that lurking in the shadows kind of antagonist kind of situation. I think Kimir, I mean, if they're not set up to be the protagonist in the sense that like it's their story and it's more
Mhm.
of a Jedi thing, then I think Kamir's gonna get that bad guy role, but I don't know. I think I'm here for Plagueis. That's what I was when they announced it in like December 2020. I was
Dude,
like, oh, I hope this is a Plagueis show.
it's
So
wild to me that it's been that long, honestly, to think about
yeah,
in
that
those
like
terms.
they announced that slate, and I was like, everyone was like, "Oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi, we're gonna get more Ewan. Oh, there's an Ahsoka show." I'm like, "Nah, nah, I see a Sith show right there."
Yeah, you're like, there it is.
So
There's
that was
the
the one I had circled. So I then hopefully season two, like we're just getting started, because I do agree, like season one was more of a mid-season finale, if anything. I think the
yeah,
story is just starting, so
yeah.
I'm really excited to see like more red lightsabers.
Yeah, same. I think that that's yeah, that's the most exciting part about it, and I would love a Bane reference, a Bane mention, or like
Hmm.
some real like that, like yeah, them spending a lot of time with the rule of two. I think that's one of my favorite concepts in Star Wars. Bane is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. Um,
Bane's a G, top
so
five Sith for me easily.
I love Bane so much, and so to see more of that, and I also have to imagine that like Disney is interested in eventually doing something with Bane. Like
Hmm.
we're seeing them explore more stuff outside the Skywalker timeline.
They're
Everyone,
starting to get the hang of a big lightsaber fights, so we can once they get a little bit more under their belt, we can get some big lightsaber fights.
yeah, I think that one, the Old Republic is something people have been clamoring for forever, right?
Give it to me.
And so yeah, like everyone wants it, and so and then within that, Bane is one of the biggest things from there, right? And
Hmm.
so I think that yeah, it would be cool to see some to get some stuff about Bane in season two. But yeah, the Plagueis stuff is definitely going to be fascinating to see that
And
unfold.
it's just cool to see how they're going to approach it because the whole cast is dead. I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got
that's
like
another big thing.
Ocean May, you have Kamir, you got Vernestra,
That's basically it.
but it's a clean slate now. Like you
Yeah,
got plenty of screen time to go to other characters or to develop these ones we kind
to
of
just
have.
like really hone in on them. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I mean, you'll lose a nice chunk of time with Soul gone. Like,
Hmm.
give it to Plagueis, baby.
Yeah, so you have Plagueis step in, and there's also
Yeah.
the senator that Vernestra speaks with at the near the
Oh,
end of the
he knows. That man knows.
bro is he's like, this is all sus. I do not like this, right?
He was spitting facts, absolutely just nailing it to a T. That guy's definitely watched Star Wars and is definitely a fan of the Sith. That guy knows what's up.
Yeah, he very much is not on the Jedi side and is like, you guys are not doing well, and I see right through all of this.
Mhm.
Um, so it'll
And
be in
it's really strange because I know Star Wars is a very political franchise, but
yeah,
like Senate stuff and whatnot, I've never been interested in it. I'm here for lightsabers and the Force. That's pretty
yeah,
much what I'm showing up for. But this guy is probably the first senator that has like, aside from like Palpatine,
mhm.
like caught my eye. So I'm really excited to see what his little the whole the whole mess he's gonna try and make.
Yeah, I think that the political stuff specifically with like literally the government political
The
stuff in
Senate,
the Star
yeah,
Wars, like all of that, I
the
think is
Republic.
really yeah, like am very interested in all of that and all the like machinations of it, and I think it's really fascinating, but it's also very easy to make kind of boring or off-putting. And so I think
Hmm.
that there's like a fine line there. I think that when it's good, it's phenomenal. Like it's
Right.
really really interesting stuff. And yeah, like it just takes that right angle on it or those right characters to really connect and land. Like my favorite politics stuff in Star Wars is not anything that we've seen in any of the shows or like live action or animation, but the Chiss stuff, like the way that
Mm,
those
mhm.
politics operate, like it's literally just
Yep.
Game of Thrones in space, right? And it's so cool.
Yeah.
So
No,
like that kind
I
of
absolutely love the Chiss.
yeah, so that kind of stuff is like I
Okay,
think
I
makes it
lied. So aside from Palpatine and the Chiss, completely
um,
forgot about those guys.
so like that's always cool, but that's a whole other I could talk about them for a long time. We'll get to that
Oh,
I'm sure
yeah.
in future episodes, but yeah, I think season 2 is definitely like there's a lot of ground that they've uh got ahead of them. There's so many things that they've set up and I think that they did as much as we've been saying that this felt like a mid-season finale in a lot of ways, they did also do I think a really good job of cleaning up like a season's worth of threads and like tie-ins,
Right.
like this is a really clean break line, and then now we'll
They
stop
have a
and
nice
then
little fresh start to
to season
explore the next road.
yeah. So I think that they did a good job of wrapping things up like that, and then after wrapping it up, putting a little Yoda stinger at the end because we gotta have a little green guy show up in the
I
Star
just
Wars
want to
thing.
see. I want. Yeah, I know they're gonna whip out the Last Jedi puppet, but man, oh man, would it be hilarious if they busted out the '99 Phantom Menace puppet?
Oh yeah, yeah, that would be great.
That would be something.
Yeah, that was definitely the Last Jedi puppet,
Yeah,
like
100%.
for
But it
sure.
looked. I love the Last Jedi puppet. I think it looks excellent.
Yeah,
So I'm all for it. I just keep Yoda as a puppet. I'm happy. So
yeah. It was so funny to see him, dude.
yeah, it was hilarious. I was
Could
like,
not
oh,
believe it.
what is going on here?
I mean, like, man,
This guy
I know
decided to
he's
show up at the end.
around at that time, but I did not.
Brother, you just been hiding in a closet the whole time. What's going on?
Right? Um, yeah. So I think that those are all of my thoughts on the where season
Yeah,
2 might go.
I think we pretty much covered.
Exhausted it.
Yeah,
Very
every
nice.
little thread we can get, we kind of pretty much got.
Very awesome. So yeah, I mean, on the whole, enjoyed this. Hope for more and exciting things from season 2. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 2 of Framing the Force. Robbie, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me over at Twitter at Robby_Weidemann, Weidemann, and at SWSHOTBYSHOT. That's at SW Shot by Shot.
Very
And
nice.
Alex, for yourself.
Yeah, so you can find me online at AP Batman with 2 T's and also at One with the GIF. That is the Star Wars GIFs, that all of the ones that you can ask for. So yeah. And then of course, please be sure to subscribe here to The Aspect on YouTube and any platform where podcasts can be found. You can follow us on Twitter/X, Instagram, and TikTok at The Aspect Co. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Peter Fraser for providing our series music, and we'll see you next time in a galaxy far, far away.